G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists in Australia do what they do. Well, g'day viewers and welcome back to another great show of Colour in Your Life. We have a very talented acrylic artist here from Magnetic Island today. She's travelled all the way down from Queensland to be in Mealy's studio down here next to the Gold Coast. Jeanette Sellwood, how are you, my dear?
I'm really good, Graham. How are you?
Excellent. It's great to have you down here. You're sort of doing a bit of a travelling thing at the moment, aren't you?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I decided to get a camper van, sell everything up and go free spirit artist. And I bought a camper 12 months ago, had some small trips in it and decided to come south. I'm actually going right down to Victoria.
Okay.
And then I found Colour in Your Life on the way. and
Changed your life forever.
I know, and I was so lucky to find my way here to Murwillumbah and be doing this and meeting such really lovely people.
Yeah, we've got a great team of people working with us these days. But Jeanette, I mean, you're amazing as far as your prizes is concerned and the awards that you've won. I mean, there's a litany of firsts and commendeds and seconds, and your work really is based around acrylics. Obviously coming from a very wet and moist area up in North Queensland, you've really got to use acrylics to be able to manoeuvre what you want. Oils would take quite a long time to dry in that humidity.
Yeah.
But you've really mastered the oils, and I would think when I look at your work, she does wonderful paintings of her grandchildren and children on the beach. They really are very emotive and emotional pieces, obviously in the acrylics that you use. Tell me a little bit about your influences. Who's influenced you and why did you get to the stage where you decided to paint your beautiful grandchildren as well?
Well, I can remember my grandmother having oil paintings around, but I didn't ever see her paint. My primary school teacher, we used to watch her drawing and I loved that.
Sure.
I was in awe of that. And I really didn't start a painting career as such until I was 30. Mm-hmm. And then I had a couple of male mentors who were just fantastic and taught me the basics of painting.
And as you go through and you look at Jeanette's work, the soft pastels that she uses and the colours, they really are just wonderfully combined well, and obviously using her complementaries and her tertiaries and her primaries together extremely well. But today, you've actually started already on a sketch. This is the basis of where we're going to start the image today. And this is one of your beautiful grandchildren called John. And then, by the way, Jeanette does paint all of her grandchildren.
All of them.
We needed to make that a poignant position. But we're going to actually go through this today with you and see how you actually work your paints and using the various mediums into the process of putting this together. So I'll move out of the way and I'll let Jeanette take over from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
So in looking at this, I mean, you're obviously using, you use chroma acrylics, is that correct?
Yes, I love them.
Yeah, they're very smooth and buttery, I suppose you could say. That's the best way to describe them. A lot of artists, and then looking at what you're doing, a lot of artists put base colours down on their work, but you're just literally putting, the purple is your base colour for this particular picture?
Yes, it doesn't really matter what colour I'm using, it's just some colour that represents the ocean for me.
Yeah.
And so a mauve is a lovely soft foundation.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll do the drawing first, or sometimes I'll do the drawing over the top of the acrylic. As you can see, as I'm layering this over, the drawing's still
You can still see it underneath.
Yes, I'll put some fixative on it.
I was going to ask that question, yeah, mainly because it would have torn up with the paint as well.
Yeah.
Most of the colours in your work are very light. You don't use really dark colours at all. You can still see a great contrast in the work,
Yes.
but there's not a lot of very, very dark colours in what you do.
The colours have changed because I've moved north.
Okay.
In Victoria, the colours were quite dark, and I work very tonally.
Yeah.
There's still tone here, but the colours in Victoria were quite sombre compared to the colours in North Queensland. And I found that the further north that I moved, the brighter and lighter the colours have become, and I've had to adjust.
Okay.
And acrylics have been perfect for the brightness and the lightness,
Yeah.
even more so than oil paint.
So, okay, we start to fill in around the drawing. Now, the first time I actually met Jeanette was at the Sydney Art Expo, and she came down to join us at the Colour in Your Life booth. Had a great show, and Jeanette really showed her particular skill, particularly when it came to drafting. Now, you've obviously just simply drafted this on yourself without any other mechanism to help you at all.
Yes.
So that's a good
Freehand.
that's a good indication of how good a draftsman she actually is by doing that. It's very difficult for a lot of people to do that. They have to sort of either graph them out or do something or blow them up onto a screen. But I was noticing when I was down there that Jeanette was actually drawing a lot of the patrons that were coming into the expo and just doing an amazing job, and they were literally, people were lining up for her to do that. And it's important in a sense, if you, and Jeanette's done this herself, is to really find a mentor. It's all well and good struggling through on your own, but the beauty about Colour in Your Life is we're creating, you know, dozens and dozens of them over a period of time, Jeanette being one of them. But it's important to find a mentor or somebody whose style that you really enjoy, which you obviously had done as well,
Yes.
and you take the best out of that as you go along.
Yes.
You know, there's obviously, when I look at your work, there's been even overseas artists. There's artists that have influenced who you are. So I think that's an important part of developing an awareness of your own ability as well, is to find that mentor factor in it too.
I was very lucky. I had a well-known watercolour artist and a marvellous figure drawing teacher who was also a sculptor.
Mm-hmm.
So they were really important in my life at that time.
Great.
I'm putting on the base
skin colours,
colour,
okay.
which I tend to keep quite warm.
You've got a specific type of background that you wanted to put on this young guy too.
Yes.
How do we go about that as well?
I try to keep the painting evolving at the same pace. So I'm not inclined to just work on the figure alone. I like to work the background in at the same time.
Sure.
If I'm now putting on some ochre onto the hair here,
Yeah.
the next stage then would be to use ochre in the background as
Okay.
well.
So you really try and balance those colours out, which is a really, really good important part, is that it doesn't matter if it's landscapes or figurative, the colours that you have in the ground need to be in the sky and vice versa. The colours that
Yes.
are in the sand need to be, particularly in
Yes.
your work, need to be within your figure as well.
Yes.
So really, from there you've sort of mapped in your character, young John. Obviously, as you said, the background is very, very important as well, or just the presentation of the background to make the figure stand out. So what colour are we going to be using on that?
I've got in mind a more sand coloured background, although I still like to think about the ocean in the background, so my idea is to simplify the whole background. And it's been a happy mistake over time working with acrylics that I've learnt to simplify this process using a palette knife rather than brush strokes, blending. It was always very hard for me to get the colours to blend in acrylic. So it was by accident that I decided one day, in a fit of impatience, to pick up my palette knife and just start putting it on broadly. And then I discovered that it worked. You know, there were lots of lead-ups, of course, but I've realised now that it works really well, and you still have the illusion of the ocean and the sand when you stand back.
Well, let's start on that happy mistake then.
Okay.
It sounds like a beauty.
Okay.
All right, so what is it? Satin, medium?
Satin, medium, and varnish.
And you're just throwing the whole lot in there just to give it a bit of texture, a bit of thickness?
I've thrown it in here instead of water, and it will hopefully retain some of the final sheen that I would like to have in my painting.
Oh, there you go, okay.
As the acrylic dries, this is a quite annoying part I found about acrylic for me versus working in pastel like I did years ago. Acrylic is a bit like watercolour and it changes as it dries. So therefore what I put down isn't what I would really want originally. I've had to learn to adjust really with acrylic. It's been very challenging.
You see, that looks quite dynamic, it really does. You're just using, and then still leaving certain areas of that background colour as well.
It's all about the illusion when you stand back, Graham.
It's all about the illusion. It looks great, doesn't it?
I might just move this out of the way.
Take the little fella out of the way. Well, I think that, this is looking really quite dynamic now, just using the thickness of the paint with the plastic spatula. I'm pretty sure they sell those plastic spatulas a lot of the art stores, but I know that they sell them in the art shed in Brisbane. So for all those Queensland, Brisbane folks, you can just drop in and see Manny. All right, well I can see you've mixed up a nice sandy colour there, and then you're going to proceed to put that up on the top there as well, is that right? Or cover that over the layers too?
I usually decide when I get up here
how
I'm going to leave some of the mauve showing through and some of the blue. I've put some compound paste in this to make it nice and thick because I like a little bit of texture.
Oh, and that'll sort of dry high then, will it?
Yes.
All right, well we're going to duck away and leave Jeanette to work on this for a little while, and when we come back we'll see what she's up to and we'll continue on with the process. See you shortly. And I see by your portfolio as well is that you've got a number of pieces that really fall into the fantasy realm as well. There's a couple of beautiful pieces that you've got. One of a mermaid swimming with a dolphin under the water. I think it's just superb. It's a magnificent painting. What motivates you to paint pieces like that? I mean, you've obviously got a love of the water, but what's the fascination with mermaids and mermen?
I just like to challenge myself. I think to see how good my memory retention was as far as, or recall, as far as painting without a subject in front of me.
Okay.
And living on an island also conjures up that mystical feeling. And I love swimming in the ocean, and I love the feel of the water, and like to just embrace all of that and put it in a painting that had nothing to do with super realism or copying my subject, so to speak.
No, but they're beautiful pieces, and they're very emotionally evocative, I suppose you could say. And as you can see with acrylics, I think this is a good example of what acrylics do. Is that you can actually see as it's drying, it dries back into this colour. So this is what it's like when it's wet. That's probably one of the difficulties with acrylics, is that they do dry to a darker shade than what they actually are when they're wet. And another thing that I've noticed about your work as well, which I really enjoy, and you do it so well, is the reflections of water, which is always very, very difficult. You have refraction, you have shadow, and you have reflection all in the one plane. Yes. Water is just not a matter of throwing a couple of colours down. There are a lot of different things that go into it, but you really do it well with the little girls standing in the water, the little babies in the water and mucking around on the sand. You can see that they're actually, playing in those reflective waters.
When I moved to Queensland from Victoria a number of years ago, I of course was drawn to the water because where I lived there was no water at all. So I spent a long time just observing people, especially when I moved north with the sunset colours reflecting on the water, and I would just watch it for hours and hours and hours. So I took many, many photographs, and I spent a lot of time trying to capture the essence of the water and the reflection. Yeah, I loved it so much.
You do it really, really well.
Thank you.
Okay, from here, are there any other layers that you want to put on this at all, or How do you go about it now? Do you go back and forth? You said that you really try and set the scene by building it up, and all of it, not just one area.
Well,
so
I'm
what would you do now?
halfway through the painting at this point in time.
Yeah.
Everything's evolving pretty much in the same middle tone area.
Yeah.
I have now to go into the lighter colours.
Okay.
I'll put my lights on now, and I will probably save this area for another lighter tone. The way that I figure that out is by putting on colour in the body and the clothing first, and then I'll stand back and see or what colour might suit best.
All right, well, let's have a look at that then. Okay, now we've remixed our palette and you've used your fine mist sprayer with the water in it, just to sort of wet it down a little bit, just to keep the consistency going on it. Beautiful. And from here you're going to start, you've got your mid-tones down there, but you're actually going to start to put your highlights in, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, see, I like those little flecks of highlight.
Yeah.
You can just see, it's just, as you can see, it really changes the tone of the painting quite quickly just by somebody that knows what they're doing, just simply putting in just the small, and as you can see there's no white in a sense. I mean, if you can avoid using white as a highlight, I think you're going to get a much better interpretation of your painting. So from where you are now, I can see that you're really using a lot of watered down glazes. That would be the best way to put it.
Yes.
You're not putting a huge amount of colour on there, and then just building the process of the tonal values as you go along. That obviously works well for you.
At this point in time, Graham, I'm doing the best that I can with the material folds. There's a lot of glazing and a lot of working up with this. Sometimes it can be a simple matter, but at other times you've got to pay a lot of attention here.
Sure.
To make it look realistic.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that everything's looking naturally falling.
Yeah.
So it takes a fair bit of concentration, and I do like to build things up in gentle layers.
Yeah, I can just sort of see that they seem to be just washes that you're putting on top of each other as you go along.
This is how I like to work with acrylic within the figurative area anyway. When I get to the background, it's much more fun for me because then I can let loose with the palette knife.
Sure. But you've got, are you going to do anything else with that background there?
I will. As I put the lighter tone on the hair, I think that I'll bring in the tonal area in the background to be of a similar
So it'll be a sort of similar, is he going to be sandy blonde of some sort? Or?
He's quite fair. John's got quite fair hair.
Okay.
I may need to wait for that to dry.
Okay.
5 minutes.
So what are we going to do about this background as well?
So I will now mix the lighter colour for the background and put some, because I did palette knife some onto the hair.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And just sort of match it all up then. All right, well, how about we mix the colour for the background and we start building that?
Okay, I'll do that. This is the finishing layer for the picture. I want it to tone in more or less with John's hair.
Uh-huh.
I've decided, and I'll put some more lighter tones on the pants and the body.
Okay.
Bring it all into shape.
All right, well, we'll let you go ahead with that. I actually quite like this technique because it's using the spatula and looks great the way that you build up the different layers. It's very, very effective. Look at that. Beautiful.
Sparkly effect here. I like the sparkle.
You sort of tend to roll that spatula across the top and then it catches all of the layers underneath too, doesn't it?
Yes, it was a good technique that I found by default and accident one day.
Looks great. Well, these are these really light highlights. You're actually using a little bit of white in this process, correct?
I will use white. I'm still not there yet.
Okay.
I'm a shade off it.
Okay. But once again, this is part of your technique of just simply building those colours all the time. Again, as you can see, it's really not a matter of trying to get every tiny little hair, which some artists do, and it looks amazing, but with Jeanette's process, it's just giving you an impression of what the hair is really about by using the light and shade to do so. All right, viewers, well, as you can see, Janet has really made quite some amazing progress since we've ducked away. Obviously it takes time to put these things together, and but as you can see, she's really done just an amazing job at this beautiful portrait, figurative portrait of her young grandson John. I think it's just amazing. Congratulations on such an amazing painting, and obviously also an amazing career as well.
Thanks,
You've obviously achieved a great deal with what you're doing, and as you can see by beautiful pieces like this, it's fairly evident that this lady has an amazing and wonderful ability. So if people wanted to see your work and what you're doing, you've obviously got a website. What's that address?
I have a website, freespiritartist.com.au.
Okay, so if anybody wants to come and see Jeanette's paintings and obviously her history as well, they can go to that website. If not, you can always come to colourful.com.au and you can see her work in there as well. Well guys, once again, an amazingly talented woman. Thank you so much for coming on the show, darling. It was absolutely superb to see the ability of another amazing human being. If you'd like to see more of Jeanette's work, you can obviously come into colouringlife.com.au and catch up with her and obviously many of the other artists in there. This is a great example of what you can do with acrylics. A lot of people have trouble working with acrylics, but another good example of what you can do. Also, I've had a number of people phone us in over the last couple of months since the show's been on, asking about wanting to be on the show. Yes, artists can, if they want to submit their portfolios to the team at Colour in Your Life. We will review your work, depending on where you are, of course, and we would be happy to look at what you do, what your ability is. If you're a semi-professional artist or a professional artist and you want to be part of what we're doing in our team, we are literally crossing the planet these days, and it's just an amazing thing to be involved with. We have a number of different organisations coming on board with us. So if you would like to be part of this idea as it crosses the planet, you need to get in touch with us, obviously at the website, and we go from there. But once again, we need to move on and obviously hopefully go and see somebody else somewhere in this amazing country and hopefully tell the world what we're doing. But until we meet again, remember, make sure you put some colour in your life. We'll see you next time. Bye guys. Some of the great artists from Colour in Your Life are going to be at Sea Gallery November the 1st, James Street, Fortitude Valley in Brisbane for an exhibition. Come along and see these amazing artists in the one place. Sea Gallery, 1st of November, Brisbane. See you there, guys.